everyone. I am Trimease Carter. I'm the chair of Together SC's Black Nonprofit Leaders Group. Thank you for listening to this recording from the Black Nonprofit Leaders Group leadership team. The purpose of the recording is to introduce you to some members of our leadership team and the topic of operations. Over the next few weeks, we will continue to discuss operations within nonprofits from the perspective of Black nonprofit leaders. Now I will pass it to Heather Singleton.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this recording as we're talking about the ins and outs of operations. This is also going to serve as a way for you to get to know our leadership team as the Black Nonprofit Leaders Group. My name is Heather Singleton, and I serve as your facilitator for this peer network. And we are excited about the year ahead and the great things that we have to offer. So as a gentle reminder, we want you to remember to join our ListServ and to engage with us. We will have great conversations, we will have lively discussions, and we've got a wealth of programming that is prepared for you, our Black nonprofit leaders across South Carolina. With that said, I will toss it over to Maurice Lawyer from our leadership team to welcome you.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to actually listen to us and get our perspective. My name is Maurice Lawyer. I am the Executive Director of the Legacy Foundation of South Carolina. I serve in the Jasper County community, and our mission for the Legacy Foundation is to help address education shortfalls and also inspire young minds. That's actually our motto. We inspire young minds. So I do this work because I want to continue the passion of my mother and my father that they have done in this community for decades. And so with that, a part of my role is to understand operations. And so one of the things I want to define for you all is the definition of what operation means in a nonprofit sector from a Black perspective. So operations for a nonprofit organization encompasses the day-to-day activities involved in fulfilling their mission, including fundraising, program implementation, financial management, stakeholder engagement. These activities aim to support the organization's goals while adhering to ethical and legal standards. Now, when you think about that definition, or when you hear all of those things that actually happens behind the scenes in the nonprofit sector, oftentimes people often come to you and say, well, you're a nonprofit. Can you help me with this? Or can you help me with that? They have to understand that the mission of your nonprofit is crucial to the work that you're doing. And yes, you are supposed to serve in your area. And what I've learned is that, if it doesn't fit in my wheelhouse, I don't do it. And that's that's how I tried to lead the nonprofit that we currently have. Also, we want to talk about an example of the nonprofit. And some common elements of a nonprofit is fundraising activity. And when you're in a small rural community like Jasper County, fundraising can be really hard because you're actually trying to raise money from the people you're also willing to serve who are actually in a lower income area. So that makes it kind of difficult. So we have to be creative about the way that we fundraise and also look into some outside sources outside of our county. With that said, that's my objective for today, talking about operations from a Black perspective. And now I'll toss it back to Heather.
Thank you so much, Maurice, for that explanation of what operations looks like in our day-to-days. And whether you are a large nonprofit or you're a one-man band, we know that operations is really the roadmap for how you're going to excel as a nonprofit. So right now, we are going to begin having a brief discussion on operations. And before we do any of that, you guys probably should know who we have serving with us on the leadership team. And so we have a few of our team members here with us today to discuss their thoughts on operations and how they make their nonprofits thrive. So we will begin with a quick question, but I will also allow Anitra and Jessica to tell us more about them and their work. So the first question that I ask is, what is your role at your nonprofit and how do operations affect you in that role?
Okay, well, my name is Anitra Hardy. I am the outreach coordinator statewide for South Carolina Legal Services. Being in this role is how operations really impact us and me and my work. is I primarily act as a liaison between community partners, between collaborators, community stakeholders, and members. Operations is utilized a lot in my role to pretty much deliver quality technology and have use of equipment, especially for outreach. Just simple things as like a projector screen, setting up events spaces, literally utilizing our building for our clientele, making sure that they have access to broadband when doing intakes, or literally when it comes to community engagement, being able to have all of the technology needed to provide adequate education to our community members. Also setting up mobile offices. So we literally set up computers, cameras, literally doing any type of media that we use, well, media, social media platforms. So operation is a big part of what I do, and I could not do my job without it.
Such great insight. I now will hear from Jessica if you would like to share.
Hey everybody, my name is Jessica Gaines. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the development manager for We Are Family, which is a nonprofit located in Charleston, South Carolina. We serve the entire Low Country. We also have some programs that are statewide. But basically we aim to provide life-affirming and life-saving resources and programs for LGBTQ young people in South Carolina. As I said, I am the development manager, so I definitely have to work with operations a lot. I've been in positions where I actually had an operations director, but then I've also been in positions where the executive director does a lot of the operational work, or depending on your position and your role within the organization, you may have to handle some of those things that an operations or a director of operations manager would normally handle. So definitely, like Anitra said, when it comes to events and having spaces, also having licenses. If we're holding a fundraising event where we need liquor license, that is definitely when I have to partner with our operations manager or the executive director to make sure that that gets done. And then also approving payroll and working with, we actually have a bookkeeper that we work with. So on the operations side, they'll make sure that all of the expenses and all of the bank statements and everything like that have been completed for the month, so that they can share that information with the bookkeeper and we can make sure that we are financially sound as an organization. So definitely feel like operations is a very broad field and can mean a lot to different organizations and can mean a lot to different roles. So I'm definitely excited to talk about it further with you all today.
And Maurice will allow you to answer that question as well.
Okay. Well, as an executive director, as most of you have talked about, operations totally take up my job at the Legacy Foundation. And I have a little different perspective than some of you or some other persons who are in the nonprofit sector, because we started our nonprofit from the ground up. And so I've been here since 2017, actually building the nonprofit. So understanding what it means to actually write bylaws, create budgets, fundraising, all of those different components that it actually takes to run a nonprofit, I really had to just jump in and learn. Also understanding that just because we wanted to provide services, we had to understand what were the needs of the community that we were now looking to serve. So we don't want to create programs that are not beneficial to the students and families in our area. So having to research and do analysis and ask questions, all of those things are really crucial to the work that we do. So operations is my lifeline. It's how I breathe the services into my community, if you will, and make sure that, you know, we are able to touch and inspire the students and families that we look to serve.
That's awesome. And so as you talk about it being the lifeline, I feel like that's a common thought or a common point of interest for a lot of people in our culture. Operations comes from even, the way that we run and manage our own homes. You got to set a budget. You got to have somebody who can do the maintenance routinely, whether that's a gardener or somebody doing landscaping or a plumber. So operations does play a vital role in the lives of Black people in general, but also in Black leadership. So with that in mind, what are some unique things about operations as it relates to Black nonprofit leaders? And we're going to let you guys roll with your answers. So let's start, Maurice, since you are the CEO, let's start with you and we will go around the room.
One of the things that we think as a Black nonprofit leader, one, you have to get community buy-in. You have to get the community to trust you. And then also, you have to find a way to say, to funder A or funder B, like, look, this is the boxes you want us to check off. And I heard someone say this before in a symposium, is like, okay, you have all these boxes you want me to check. I can check those boxes. And now that I meet those requirements, let me just, fund our programs and let us do the work, because we're the ones that are here on the ground and looking at the communities that we're looking to serve. So we understand that you have a criteria, but allow us to do the work and allow us to meet the needs of those that we want to serve in a way that's impactful. And so, again, operations is just, it's everything. It's everything. So you got to have that community buy-in.
I can kind of piggyback off of that. I definitely feel like you got to have that community buy-in. I know, coming from the perspective of fundraising and working with donors one-on-one, in my position as a Black woman, I've had to have those rough conversations with other team members, with my executive director, with family and friends about, sometimes there's donors who are just not going to respect me, not only because of the color of my skin, but because I'm a woman. And so it kind of ties into operations, because I have to know that I'm going to have to use another team member or the executive director in this particular role to do this cultivation that I need, or to handle this particular account for the benefit of the organization.
Wow.
One way I was going to just touch on that, and I guess I'm glad you brought that up, Jessica. I'm Trimease Carter, and I work for Central Carolina Community Foundation as a program officer. And a key part of my role with operations, I think, is communication, and how we build our system of communication. I have to communicate with grantees, applicants, funders, grant reviewers, our staff internally, our communications team, as well as just the community at large. So making sure we have a system in place that works, where we can communicate effectively, timely, and give out information that's accurate across our team, and it funnels through our different networks. So and using different avenues for communication, such as email, the nonprofit newsletter, even Asana when we're communicating about workloads and different tasks. And just from a Black nonprofit leader's perspective, ensuring the means that we're using for communication as it relates to the grants and the work that I do with our nonprofits, is being effective and received by everyone, and working closely with our communication team as well.
Yeah, I totally agree, Trimease, as far as what you're saying. For me, it's a little bit different when it comes to funders, donors, and grants for me, because some of our grants, we work off of 20 plus different grants, and the deliverables are sometimes different in how you engage a community, and what's needed to engage a community. And sometimes there's equipment that I have to buy in order to be able to reach them, especially like in these rural counties. So we deal with more of what the grant actually requires, and how we deliver services, more so with operations when it comes to my job.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Good.
That's a great point. I mean, and systems play such a key role in how we set ourselves up for success. And I think that one of the things that we take for granted is planning in advance to set a process or to set systems up or put things in place so that the operations can run smoothly. Because if operations and that facet of the business is in shambles, then it's going to be really hard for you to communicate your brand to the external folks, and it's going to be really difficult for you to run those program offerings. So I completely agree. So what are you looking forward to discussing about operations from the Black nonprofit leaders perspective? I know we already have a Connected Conversations webinar that we are putting on the books for January, and so guys, save the date for the third week of January. Hopefully we will have that date confirmed for you guys before the holiday season, but we would love to hear from our panelists here about what they're looking forward to discussing about operations with our group.
One thing that I'm looking at to learning is how operations impact large and small nonprofits, and looking to learn how the larger nonprofits actually use operations and strategies and a lot of different systems, as we're mentioning, to their benefit. Because a lot of things I'm learning as I've joined this nonprofit group, I've learned from the moment I joined Together SC up until now, moving through several different cohorts, and now I'm part of this organization, this committee rather. I've been learning all along the way. So continuing to learn how to better improve our operations, so that we can function on the larger scale.
I agree. We're gonna go ahead and let Trimease go.
One thing I'm looking forward to, I guess, when we talk about operations is sort of knowing when to outsource and when to bring in expert opinion and support to help you along your journey. I work with nonprofits from small to larger sizes, and just sort of being able to think about when is it time to let someone else sort of take this to the next level and help our organization do this the right way, and how do we build a plan and have a plan in place for being able to do this within our organization.
Go ahead and
Here we go.
Okay. So for me, as far as what I'm looking forward to, as far as in the operation space, is literally defining, because a lot of the grassroots nonprofits, just like Maurice explained earlier, you go in and you do everything. And so what is the role of operations specifically as you grow? So you may start off being, operations, being HR, being executive director, being some of everything,
Right.
but then being able to specifically divide and identify the role of what operations and how it functions, especially when you are in a smaller nonprofit. And then Heather, you hit the nail on the head earlier in our talks when you were talking about delegation. What do you delegate and relinquish to someone who is an operations person, and those things, when you identify them, I think that it will help to maximize the usefulness of your whole organization.
Definitely good point. I agree with what everyone says. I'm love to have these conversations just to be able to learn from everyone. And then one thing that I really would like to discuss or learn from you all, also coming from grassroots organizations, we're smaller. Like Anitra said, we're used to wearing all of those hats. But what I've seen with a lot of these organizations is that we do not have proper succession plans. We don't have policies and procedures in place for different positions, especially as we expand. So both of the last two nonprofits that I've worked at, I'm the first development manager there. So I'm creating this position in this role. So how can I have those policies or those procedures in place so that when it's my time to move on, whoever comes in after me is set up for success and there is not a halt in our operations for the organization.
Yeah, that's such a powerful point, especially in this realm of life that we are post-pandemic, where we've seen just how quickly life can happen, and the importance of having a succession plan and the importance of creating generational wealth. And that's the same even in our nonprofits. How exactly are we creating legacy or generational wealth through the work that we do in our community every day? And the way that we operate to make sure that the organization lasts even longer than our time here on earth. So these are all great points to make, y'all. And as we wrap our conversation up for today, just know that operations is our foundation, and it's really hard to get started with any type of build if you don't have that foundation and those support beams in place. So stay tuned for more information about our connected conversations in January as we talk about setting ourselves up for success through project management tools, best practices, knowing when to fill gaps with 1099 contractors and consultants, and when you should be hiring folks. We're going to have a really healthy, in-depth conversation through this time, and it will also include a panel conversation with some of our more notable consultants and operations folks here in the South Carolina community. So again, my name is Heather Singleton. I'm facilitator for the Black Nonprofit Leaders Group. We thank you guys so much for spending some time with us today, and we look forward to a wonderful and prosperous 2024.
Thank you.